finally, we will be reopening public housing for the residents, for the workforce that's going to move back in and again rebuild New Orleans.
Sick, twisted, cruel. Those are all words used to describe the prank on Louisiana officials and about 1,000 contractors in New Orleans today.
I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary of the assistant, essentially, of Secretary Alphonso Jackson.
Rene Oswin can't get his title right or his relationship to HUD Secretary Alphonso Jackson. After taking the mayor for a ride, these contractors followed him to a makeshift ribbon cutting at the Lafitte Housing Project. Mr. Oswin, you're not even on the directory of HUD. You're not even listed. You don't even have a phone number.
It's come to that, has it? It's come to that. Well, thanks for being the one to break the news.
Hano, the Housing Authority of New Orleans, says this is simply a cruel, cruel joke, trying to give people some kind of fake hope that they were going to be able to move back.
It is terribly sad that someone would perpetuate such a cruel hoax and play on the fears and anxieties of families who are desperate to return to their homes.
We just had it confirmed from HUD that he's not actually an employee of HUD. This is all a big hoax, this whole ceremony here, this whole press conference.
But I guess it's just to call their hand. It's just to call their hand. I respect this host because maybe it'll take a host like this to bring them out here to see what we going through. So it's a host what it be, a host is what we got. And I ain't mad. I'm going to eat me some barbecue.
And I think what you guys exposed is the fact that HUD could do these great things if they wanted to. Secondly, you got the attention of the residents, so now they're going to begin to ask, well, why aren't you doing these things? And number three, you're creating a controversy to feed off, to organize, and to build a struggle to the next level. So in my opinion, everything y'all did was excellent.
It had all been worthwhile. We were on top of the world. But then, reality began to sink in. We'd made a splash, but we hadn't fixed the world. The free market was still destroying New Orleans. All over the world, people were losing their homes. Climate change kept getting worse. And in Bhopal, people continued to suffer. We really did need to fix the world. But it was going to take more than two guys with cheap suits and fake websites. It would take millions of us. But even as old regimes were swept away, we knew that real change wouldn't come easy. After all, the free market cult was still here.
Wealth, money, privatization.
Wealth, money, free markets, privatization.
Ownership, a great deal of money. Now, we can afford that.
Remember these guys? They're not going away. And neither would we. We needed a really ambitious plan, because all we ever read in the newspapers was how we needed to put everything back on track, back to how it was before it fell apart. But how it was the problem. We needed to show what real change could look like. So together with a whole lot of friends, we would blanket Manhattan with 100,000 copies of our very own newspaper. We'd call it the New York Times. Except our New York Times would be a little bit different. Ours would be set 6 months in the future. It would show what could happen if we set our imagination free.
I think
things have gotten pretty bad, and I think it's hard for people to imagine the world working another way. So we're trying to, as realistically as possible, present this world as it could be.
They just brought out the proof of the New York Times, and it looks unfucking believable. Really good.
The obvious question, how the heck did you do it? Andy, you want to start? How long were you working on this thing, and how many of you?
Well, there were a lot of us. It wasn't just the Yes Men. It was a large group of people. We were just one of many groups. It was an idea that sparked a lot of people's imaginations. They wanted to see this happen. And that's sort of the message of the paper as well, is that, great, we elected Obama, and that's fantastic, but now the real work begins.
The idea was to put out something that was optimistic, that says, we can do all these things. Why not? We created the system that we have now, so why not create a good one instead?
Wow. Very good. You're going to tie you up. This is the big day. 7 a.m. rush hour. This is the time to get the papers out there.
Three times. Special issue. Special issue.
Free New York Times. Edition of New York Times. Free New York Times. Is this real?
It's fake, right?
Who publishes this? Can I grab another one, please? What? What? New York Times.
National Health Insurance Act passes.
The Patriot Act repealed.
Maximum wage law succeeds. Good luck with that one.
It's too good to be true. But it's not impossible.
It's a dream newspaper, right? It's like you wake up and all the things that you wanted became the news.
The war's over!
Our fake news was a hit. But would the real news pick it up?
You don't work for the New York Times. Who is it that you work for handing this out?
A guy named John Smith?
who?
Yeah, John Smith.
John Smith.
It's a New York Times special edition. Is there anything wrong with it? I mean...
yeah, but it's not the New York Times.
Extra, extra, read all about it. The New York Times declares the war in Iraq is over.
Some commuters got their hands on what looks like a special edition of the New York Times. As you might have guessed, though, it's a fake.
Eine New York Times in die Hand gedrückt bekamen, trauten jedenfalls ihren Augen nicht.
Джордж Буш отдан под суд, а Кондолиза Райс приносит официальные извинения за недостоверную.
We printed a paper with the headlines that we'd like to see. So if these are the headlines that people were so excited to read this morning, let's make them happen.
I think we have to exercise some muscles we either don't have or that have atrophied or something. A civic muscle, a thrifty muscle, a generous muscle.
We've got to take back our government. March into City Hall and say, here, we've got the solutions.
We can think of the different ways that we can contribute to a movement that says business as usual is unacceptable because people are being hurt and we're not going to play the role, the subservient, routine role that we usually play.
Let's go.
Make change happen. Put your effort on the line to make something happen. And that's what kind of we did here, and, maybe it's what, it's kind of, oh boy.
No, I know, yeah. Well, and if a few people at the top can make the bad news happen, then why can't all of us at the bottom get together and make the good news happen for a change? I mean, for real.